on FX Street for I guess for 10 years now. So know the guys from old. Um, I guess a bit about myself: professional trader of 20 years, managed some of the biggest trading floors in Europe. Um, Run my own funds, etc., etc. Published author, chief market strategist and trader for a decade. So yeah, pretty much just trading. I've done it. So today we're going to talk about Bitcoin. Amazing Bitcoin. Now I'm not here to slate Bitcoin. The truth is, I don't care either way. Bitcoin is just something that's been in the media, and I'm going to give you my take on the reasons why it's interesting. I guess as an asset class to trade, the pitfalls, the good points and the bad points. Touch on Elon Musk briefly, because well, I can. It's my webinar. I can do what I like. You think what you like, and I'll give you my opinions. Open forum as always. Feel free to put back in the chat window, or just tell me your thoughts. It's absolutely fine. I have a very thick skin. Anything you say I've not heard before, it's all absolutely fine. And yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I'm doing the webinar because I called the great crypto crash, meltdown, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I'm not kind of out there on my own. Plenty of people called it. Plenty of people, said it was going to happen. I don't think many people called it to the pip like I did. Plenty of people didn't call it, kind of right up to the point. I mean, very vocal. I've got my Twitter feed on here. Language is a bit blue sometimes. You have to be careful. But, again, on the 13th of May, I basically said, it's a scam. Bitcoin is going to, inevitably implode, and this is when it was trading, up in the 60,000s, and it crashes down to here, which is pretty much to the pip where it crashed to. Now, I guess you'll say, well, very good, Steve. That's it's very good. You must have made a lot of money. I didn't, because I don't trade Bitcoin. I don't trade it for the reasons I'm going to tell you, and the way I'll tell it to you, like I've told you about trading for 10 years, and things in plain, simple English, the reasons why things happen, the reasons why you have to understand why they happened and understand why you're trading. So, I mean, the Bitcoin, kind of crash for me was inevitable after the gap, after Elon saying that it was the biggest crypto fan in the world, and Tesla, bought all these Bitcoins because they're going to transact in them. Again, he was buying Bitcoins with somebody else's money. That's the first thing, again, like most billionaires out there doing things that they can do because they're not doing it with their own money. And secondly, China saying that, they had a problem with the regulations, etc., etc., etc. So the first thing about Bitcoin is that people get confused about is they want to call it a cryptocurrency because that's all you know. You've been led to believe crypto is a currency. You actually pay for things in crypto, but it's not. Think of it as going to your local takeaway and buying, some chips and curry with a block of gold, a bar of gold, that kind of stuff. It doesn't happen because, you want the intrinsic value of gold and what it represents. Bitcoin, has no intrinsic value. It's just created by man. That comes back to two key points. Number one, Warren Buffett, never surprised by man's ability to create wealth out of nothing. And that's what Bitcoin is. And the other side of it is lots of things that we trade, lots of things that we have that we class as assets have intrinsic values. They have other values outside of just making you wealthy. Think like shares, for instance, they could pay a dividend. Housing, again, it creates a revenue from rental, capital gains, and an actual physical thing. It creates a place where people can live. Bitcoin isn't anything. When you call it a cryptocurrency, it is because that's what the media, the hype have called it, is some sort of future way to spend money, and it's not. It's an asset. It's something that's traded and tradable to make money. Now, this is the difference, you see. If you talk about assets, like houses, for instance, they're treated more like assets now because they make so much money. And that, people see them as something, as almost like a commodity they can trade, whereas they're not. People still want to live in them. People still need bricks and mortar. People still need shelter. There's lots of other opportunities to trade and make money and transact with something outside of crypto. So crypto, be it Bitcoin, be it Dogecoin, whatever, Ether, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter what it is. It's not like that's the future of currency, okay? And again, my main reasons for that is Bitcoin is an old technology. Okay, it might have been amazing when it first came out, and it is a great thing. I think there will be a digital currency going forward, but it ain't going to be Bitcoin. Okay, and these are the reasons why I've said for not just since I call it a crash. I've said this for about 5 or 6 years, and it's all documented on Twitter. All the things, all the reasons why I'm where I am is because I put my heart and soul, out there for everyone to see, and you live and die by the sword. So I never said that Bitcoin was the way forward because it's old technology. The blockchain that it's built upon is old technology. There's better things coming along. Think about it like the railways in England. We're the first to have the railways, and now you've been on the railways in the UK. They're rubbish. Look at Japan, the bullet train, ultra efficiency. Just because you're first doesn't mean that you're going to be the best and you're going to be around and you're going to be it. Like Facebook. Facebook was big, got bigger, became the kind of like jumping off point for social media, but other things became better. Instagram, Zuckerberg bought it. WhatsApp, Zuckerberg bought it. Snapchat, he didn't buy that one, but other things come along and other things can supersede what came before. So for Bitcoin being first is actually detrimental for me. It's old technology in a rapidly moving, fast-paced, kind of environment that just proves that if you want something to be the future and you want it to be anti-establishment, you want it to be decentralized, that's fine. But it comes with all the risks. So that implies. Now the basics. I've been an economist. I've been training for 20 years. I'm a pretty smart guy. And what I've learned to do over the last kind of 2 or 3 years is unlearn everything I've learned, because none of it makes sense in a world with ultra low interest rates, quantitative easing, governments that can seemingly do whatever they want. The old rules don't really apply. Something new comes along like Bitcoin, and you try and apply your trading, philosophy, your strategies, your understanding of the world to that, then it doesn't really work. And was always my problem with Bitcoin. Not Bitcoin itself. I don't care about Bitcoin. It could be anything. Anything that trades, I have to know a certain amount, but how else would I be able to press the button? Now, all the big kind of things I learned, the basics kind of economics and how I learned to trade was like the Dow theory. Understand everything, that's happening, that makes that asset price, that asset class worth what it's worth at that particular moment in time, because all the information is known. Well, the first one for me is like, who created it? Who's this, Satoshi Nakamoto guy or group or girl, this PC world we live in? Who are they? What are they all about? If they created something, I need to know who they are. What's their office? What's their tax returns? What are they doing? Oh, I don't know that. Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't matter. But just leave that huge part of something that's become a hugely, important part of our, culture, and that millions of people now seemingly trade with that missing piece of information. So I could never get on board with that. And then again, there's this whole idea that, people like Elon Musk, we made him the crypto god. All right, he's a smart guy. Don't get me wrong, but he's smart in the wrong way. Okay, he's all about kind of improving things for technology and streamlining things. That's the difference between IQ and EQ. Okay, he might be a smart guy with an IQ, but EQ wise, he's not very bright. You can't just make all cars self-driving and get rid of all the taxi drivers, the Uber drivers, the school bus drivers, the lorry drivers. You can't just change society that way because you think it's a good idea. Now, again, the whole thing with Elon Musk is I'm not going to sit here and have a rant and berate this guy, but Elon Musk, basically is. I'll choose my words carefully because he might be listening. You see, he might sue me. But again, he tried to sue the other guy, didn't he? When he called that guy a paedophile and said to the court he had no money. Funny how billionaires work. Now, at the end of the day, he's kind of commentating on something that really has no control over, and he has no expertise in, apart from he bought a lot of money with shareholders' money. Okay, so that's another thing, right? Remember the world we trade in. Remember that the kind of environment we are in now. Billionaires are kings. People with Twitter accounts, people with the most media reach, are telling you things because they want you to do what they want you to do, and they make money from it. So the big thing about Elon Musk is, remember why he got booted off his own, kind of company board, is because he was manipulating the share price of Tesla by making unsubstantiated claims. Remember the whole famous funding secured. Here's a story. Let me riddle this. Okay, so tried to sell Tesla to Tim Cook at Apple. Tried to get them on board. Tesla was struggling. Then all of a sudden, he's quoting funding secured. Now, at that time, Trump was in office. At that time, Trump is well reportedly to be friends with the Saudi Arabia royal family. Oil's on its way out. Tourism looks a bit shaky. So what do you invest in? Electric cars. How about that? All of a sudden, you can manipulate your own share price by unlimited money, and basically stop out all the short sellers by being able to manipulate your own share price by the information you give, yeah, via Twitter. Now, the SEC didn't like that because the SEC regulates the stock market and shares, and then here are consequences. So, what's the next thing you do? Where do you go? Well, you go to an unregulated market with infinite possibilities, do the exact same thing, and then nothing can happen to you because you're trading or being an expert or a guru or whatever he calls himself in a completely unregulated market with no consequence. Balls of steel. That's big cojones. That's what I can say. So if you have when you get the money, you get the power. Once you get the power, we've all seen Scarface. Doesn't end well, does it? You do things that are very questionable. So when China, when he came out and said like, Tesla wasn't going to accept Bitcoin anymore, and again, the namby-pamby, reason he gave behind it was all about the environmental consequences. Now this is a guy that sends rockets to the moon. Now what's the miles per gallon on a rocket to the moon? It ain't very good, is it? And no one's saying that batteries are the way forward. Batteries, rare earth metals, corrosive, they've got a shelf life, they've got to be recycled or got rid of. It's not like it's hydrogen power, just creates water. So there's lots of things, that he kind of can flip flop in his favor because Elon doesn't care. Like how many times has Warren Buffett come out and told you exactly what shares he's going to buy or sell before he does it? Never. No, because Warren's not. Well, he's on Twitter, but he's not. He's not harnessed the power of Twitter just yet because he's busy making billions and being a philanthropist and giving his money to Bill Gates. There was another one I told you was someone to look out for. Not a good guy, and all that's come out in the press, hasn't it? You have to remember, I'm not just a trader. I know people. I understand. I've met billionaires. I've been around billionaires. They're not like us. I tell you, they're very different people. They have very different motives for what they do. So this whole idea that Elon's coming to the crypto sphere and he's punting Dogecoin and Bitcoin, it's because he can make the majority of people do what he wants. So again, going back to the basic trading principles. Now that's just this is just the Bitcoin kind of scenario that I put on Twitter and for the world to see for a number of times, and it is a far cry from my best work. It isn't rocket science. It isn't anything. Listen, I've done Fibonacci for 20 years. I've wrote books on it. I've traded it on every single product. And that's just saying if something happens, it's going to happen fast. And the things, like, again, my, rules of Fibonacci, 8% of the time, a strong extra move will retrace to 50%. And then below that, it basically goes to where it started. So, yeah, this is where the move started and people got interested. I mean, really interested. The institutional money, the kind of like big, trusted, kind of cash goes up to a high, gaps down. China, Elon says no more Bitcoin. China comes out and says, yeah, definitely we're going to regulate it, or kind of we don't trust it. Gap down below the 50%, pretty much to the pip, and then gets down to the pip. Now, that's not a bad call, is it? Very stretch the imagination, that's not a bad call. And I say I didn't make one single penny from trading Bitcoin, right? So I'm not sat here going that, I bought myself a fleet of green Lamborghinis or anything, because I haven't. I've made all my money in trading, the indices and FX. And yeah, I have plenty of cars, don't get me wrong. But I'm not quite as tasteless as a green Ferrari. But it's not that I don't want the money, don't get me wrong. It's not that I'm sat here, going being bitter about it. I don't trade things that I don't understand. Okay, so that's the whole point. I'm just being honest with you, like I always am. I didn't trade Bitcoin, even though I know it was good, trade to have, because I don't understand. I don't understand it. I don't understand the reasons why people would trade the underlying market. So I don't have any edge. I'm just at the behest of China or Elon Musk, and that's two entities that I don't want to have any battles against, because yeah, they've got deeper pockets than me, and if I'm wrong with the size I trade, I'm going to get carted out, and I don't want that. So that's Bitcoin out the window. Last I want to talk about that graph. I was right. Pat on the back. Very good. What I'm here to say is that if you're interested in trading, there are other ways. There are other ways to make money, and it's what I've basically traded and kind of taught and mentored people for the last 10 years. It's to trade these products. The indices, the DAX, gold, the S&P, the currencies. Great opportunities every single day to take an opinion and on a very short scale and make money. Now, this is why I get really kind of concerned about these hashtags and this mentality of like like the hodl. It's almost like it's a cult or religion. So it was working in an uptrend. Hodl. Yep. Yeah, I've made this much money. I've made that much money because I'm holding because everyone else is wrong. Well, that's not really the point of trading. I mean, investing for sure. If you're investing in Bitcoin, no problem with that. If you're buying, physical Bitcoins, great, well done. I have clients that made upwards of £500,000 on buying Bitcoin. Happy days, pat on the back. But trading on leverage, you have to understand the leverage rules. Trading it in market conditions when you're trading for the short term, understand the short term rules. And that comes back to all the things I talked about, like the Dow theory. If you don't know who created it, what are you trading? What are you trading it based upon? What, Elon Musk? Or are you trading it because it's the best, newest, kind of piece of technology out there that's gonna, keep doing amazing things for the world? I mean, it's almost like people have been brainwashed into thinking that if you don't, and it comes back to politics, and it comes back to how the world is right now, and this polarization, that we don't have that agree to disagree anymore. I remember, as a younger man, I'd have plenty of arguments with people and plenty of heated discussions, and we'd chat about stuff. And people would say, you're interesting. You've got an opinion. That's great. It could be about anything. But now we can't do that. It's almost like I'm this party or that party, or I'm this opinion, I'm that opinion. And if you don't agree with me, I don't even want to see your side of it. I just don't want to see any side of it at all. I want to just kind of basically, kind of look you away. You're wrong. You're an idiot, and I can't have anything to do with you because I don't even want to acknowledge that you have an opinion and understand it. And that's how I feel with Bitcoin and the hodl, because who ever expects everything to go in one direction and never stop? I mean, it's crazy to think that way. Things go up, things go down, people lock in profit. Everything has a natural ebb and flow and a life cycle, and that was just the same with Bitcoin. You see these massive gains, but you have to take profit at some point, because otherwise, what's the point in being in it? Now, I know the world's changed. Investment used to be, this percentage of bonds, maybe some commodities and your stocks, and it's balanced. But Bitcoin's just one thing. You're all or nothing. It's to the moon, or you lose everything. And we've had plenty of people from the central banks, the Bank of England, Lagarde, everything, kind of come out and say, if you're in Bitcoin or crypto, you have to be prepared to lose all your money. And that's what we saw in the crash, this crypto crash, was that a lot of people were trading on leverages and their accounts just got wiped out. Now, we don't know the figures, do we? There could be anything. It could be 100,000 people, 1 million people. It could be people with, a grand account. It could be people with £1 million account. I've no idea. Nobody knows. But what happened is that crash and the way it moved was designed to get people on leverage out and to be stopped out. And all that really says to me and screams to me is that when you look at the Bitcoin wallets with the biggest amounts of money, there's a very few people controlling the actual supply, and because of the size they can trade and their other interests, they can make this market do whatever they want. So it's just like another tax on the stupid, or on the hodl, on the believers. That if we make something move in a way that is outside market normality, then you're going to get stopped out. And if we're the right side of the position, we keep all your money. And that's exactly what happened in Bitcoin. So, for something to invest in, again, I think there is some merit to it. There's obviously lots of other options now to trade in cryptocurrency. But to trade something like Bitcoin, I cannot and have not and will condone Bitcoin as being something to be reasonable to be traded, because trading's all about risk. Now, I trade risk in a very different way than most people. If you listen to most of the experts on FX Street and out there, they'll tell you risk 1 or 2% of your account on each trade, and you won't lose much money. Well, yeah, they're right, but the other side of it is you'll never make any money. You have to be using your account size and your margin to be able to trade in a way that you can make money and use your open risk. An open risk is being able to trade an amount of your money that's open without having to click, no, that's too much of a loss. Okay, so again, this is just one of my accounts I happen to have up, and yeah, all right, we've got 175,000 quid in there. Might be a lot of money to some people, it is what it is. But really, the reality is, I set my clip size accordingly, so relatively small. I mean, again, you can't really clip more than 100 lots in a DAX, but I'm not looking to be able to press the button for 600 DAX to trade 200, 2% of my account. on one clip, because physically you can't do it. So I'm always building in averages. I build it in averages and points of interest, points of, kind of extension, all the lines of my charts are Fibonacci, looking for those overextended. The key 50% part, look, 50% down, 50% down, 50% down, 50% down. Again, looking for these opportunities to buy and sell in markets where you see value. Now with Bitcoin, that 50% is irrelevant, because in a 5, 15-minute chart, hourly chart, daily chart, if you miss the exact point that product moves, then you're out. You're just out. You're finished. The other market has swallowed you up by this huge moves in volume. So again, it's when you're looking for a day trade kind of scenario, or an intraday, kind of open market position, how can you possibly trade something that could move 20, 30, 40%, in an hour, in a day? You don't have enough bullets. You don't have enough accounts. You don't have enough skin in the game, and you never will have enough skin in the game to be able to make any money from it, trading. So it's always the way I see it. There's a million people out there that have lost money, and there's a few people out there that have made lots of money. And that could be long, that can be short, that could be intraday, that could be, kind of over days, weeks, and months. But unless you have those deep pockets to be able to take on that volatility, it's almost like every trade you do with Bitcoin is a binary bet, and you're betting with your entire account. Because I'll tell you what, very few people are sat there with a 6, 7 figure account trading Bitcoin. Generally, people put money in their account that, again, the experts tell them they can afford to lose. So you're going to lose that money. Now, when I mentor people and trade with people, I tell them trade with the amount of money you don't want to lose, because already you're in a different mindset. You don't want to lose that money. So maybe, you've traded with 5 grand in an account, blown it up, but you've done that 5 times. But what would the mindset be if you put 25 grand into an account? You can still lose 5 grand at a time if you're disciplined, but it's very unlikely you're going to lose 25 grand in one shot. So these are the different things that you have to continually look out for. And when you look at things like Bitcoin, it's like, do I know all the information? Do I know, who the key players are? Do I know what the market sentiment is? Do I know what regulation might be changed? What are the big shifts going to come? And the big shift's going to be Elon Musk says, yeah, I'm going to put a Dogecoin on the moon that's been funded by my profits in Dogecoin and all my pals getting together and moving the market. Well, is that something we want to be part of? It comes back to that really horrible part of trading, and that really horrible, kind of the way it's seen, that trading is a way to get rich quick. It isn't. Trading is not a way to get rich quick. It's a very quick way to get poor. I've spent a long time in trading getting rich quick. That's how I look at it. I just had to do a lot of stuff, a lot of things that did work, a lot of things that didn't work, a lot of learning, and you're constantly learning. With Bitcoin, I have to learn a whole new set of principles. As I said to you, I've built my pretty much trading career on my 80-20 rule. The markets move 80% of the time in a technical manner, and 20% of the time through a fundamental matter. News. Kind of interest rate expectations, inflation expectations. Kind of quantitative easing. Country versus country, currency versus currency. Things that you can get. Massive scales. And with Bitcoin, that's all flipped in its head. It's pretty much 80% news, and it might be 80%, by one country, one, kind of opinion, or one person's opinion. How do you trade against that? Because it goes against, so much power is directed in the wrong side. With things like currencies, for instance, you can be trading the euro, and the euro is part of, kind of a $4 trillion FX market, that's traded every single day, and people are hedging. People are taking basket trades against different currencies. People are using it physically. All these different things. It's in hedge funds, pension funds. It's in central banks' remit. What's Bitcoin in? It's in some hodl camp where a load of people, on dubious exchanges are holding it no matter what, and then big people are deciding they can buy and sell infinite amounts of money depending on how the wind blows. So this is why it comes back. Bitcoin becomes a binary bet. You're either going to be on the right side and make a lot of money, on the wrong side and lose all your money. And that's what's happened. And that's it. And as I say, it's unregulated. And, people have this utopian idea that we can have a decentralized currency. And that's great, because we're devaluing, kind of, fiat currencies. And people love to talk about things they don't really understand and this kind of stuff. Money's money. It's in no one's interest for their currency to get canned, is it? We're all worried about the pound during Brexit. What did I tell you? Pound's going to get back to 142. Where is it now? That's one that I did make a lot of money on. Now, this is the thing. Things just can't go out of existence. Things have to exist. And we've learned from times like, during the Second World War, where currency went through hyperinflations, became nothing. We all know about currencies like the Zimbabwe dollar and etc., where every day, they print another $1 billion note because that's what we have to do to buy a loaf of bread. Nobody in the real, modern, civilized world wants that. And that's why cryptocurrency is a bad name for it. It should be a crypto asset. There's plenty of opportunities out there to hedge against inflation and the devaluation of currencies. Do you know what it is? In other currencies. Or if it's not in other currencies, stick it in gold. I don't know. Buy property. What all the 1% and 0.1% have already done. Again, the narrative that's been given out to the average guy on the street is if you don't buy Bitcoin, you're an idiot. It's proving all the kind of establishment wrong. Well, the establishment makes the rules. So China makes the rules, and they're communist. If you don't like what you do, they stick you in jail or they kill you, right? Or they do all of that kind of other things to you. Look at Russia. All that kind of stuff. The US is no different. If the US sees Bitcoin or cryptocurrency as a threat, then it's going to take it out. It's going to say it's going to be regulated or say some other kind of wording that's going to make it, almost worthless. And that's, what they're doing. That's what they're doing it now. They're doing it by stealth. Now, these are the other things. They have to remember when all the Silk Road stuff happened and they confiscated all this drug money and illicit profits, etc., 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 the government took about 15 billion of Bitcoin on the Silk Road raid. Okay, that was back when Bitcoin was about 15,000. Now it took them years and years and lots of court battles to be able to legally own that money. Now, do you think there's any coincidence that they now legally own that money? Then Bitcoin shot up to 65,000. What's that worth to the US government? Not pennies, is it? So you can't fight against the people that make the rules. That's just lunacy. So Bitcoin will be around as long as it's going to be around and it's making people money. And when I talk about people, I'm talking about the 0.001% and the government. Well, they've stopped having the fun with that. It's gone. So what's it become? It's just another stealth tax. It's just another tax on people that want to get rich. And as I said to you, if you've made money out of Bitcoin, great. I'm pleased for you. If you lost all your money, again, that's just the price you pay for trading something like that. The risks are the risks. If you don't know who created it, if you don't know really what it's capable of, then the upside could be exponential and could be anywhere, but the downside is always zero. And I don't see Bitcoin going anywhere else but zero. There's just too many other alternatives. And you talk about this Dogecoin and stuff. Do you know who owns Dogecoin? Robinhood. Heard of them? They're not your favourites, are they? If you were trading, Bitcoin or, the GameStop stuff, they were basically doing things that were illegal. They were stopping retail traders trading positions so the big guys could readjust and take your money. Now, that's not what a service provider does. That's just not what they do. So there's all these problems that come, and there's all this new terminology and these hashtags and FOMO, fear of missing out. Well, you feel like you're missing out on Bitcoin. I mean, how much money did you think you were going to make? What's the risk you're willing to take to make some money off something for all the reasons I've just explained is an absolute punt. If you're really serious about doing something and investing, invest. Or you're really serious about trading something like these 8 products. You've got pretty much infinite liquidity, infinite opportunity, and you can be right and you can be wrong. I made money selling the euro here today. Nice little 50% touch and down. Okay, wasn't huge amounts of money, but I made money. And then, but people were saying, well, we knew it was going to go up, Steve, because I was looking for it here. But I'm like, no, I don't want to sell it here. I want to sell it here. So I'm more confident selling the euro here than I'm buying it here and watching it go to infinity because I trade for 10, 15, 20 pips. I just do it in much bigger size than most people. And then I take my money, I take it out in the market, it becomes real to me, then I make another decision. So you don't have that luxury with Bitcoin unless you're holding it for this infinite moonbeam, out there number that's never going to, be obtained. Then you have to understand that the downside is going to be much more prevalent. It's going to be hit quicker because that's what it's designed to do. It is unregulated. It is unknown. It is still relatively new. You don't have pension funds in it. You don't have, kind of institutional money. Well, you do now, obviously. But you don't have institutional money that's doing it in the right way. There's no way that, a pension fund's going to buy Bitcoin and say, right, yeah, because Bitcoin, pension funds don't do things. You've all seen billions, haven't you? They don't just do things by, a few hundred grand at a time. It's like, yeah, we'll put 16 billion, over 3 years in Bitcoin. It just dropped 40% of its value today. Everyone happy with that? Board members, are you happy? No, of course not. So you can't. So you can't have the big money trading stuff in the traditional way because they can't take those kind of swings. So that's what I'm saying. It's like it's a new kind of way of trading almost. You have to trade of hypersensitivity and kind of little ripples and whispers. And when they come, you've got to be able to trend trade like you've never trend traded before. And you have to be right. Otherwise, you're always going to be wrong. Because we all know if you're trading in standard terms, 1 or 2% of your risk of your capital in each trade, that could be over in a second. Now, if you're trading, again, especially with the spreads and when you're trading on margin, if you're trading that way in the markets, you can get away with that. For me, myself, much more comfortable, kind of between 5 and 10%. But again, I trade positions, and I'm trading something like the euro dollar or cable, things that these institutions, these central banks are in. So when one thing's going one massive direction, it will come back because people are the other side and have to be wrong or they have to cash out. So you're always going to be able to get out of stuff. Yeah. And that's again, it's a liquid market. You can get out of things when you're wrong. Whereas I find Bitcoin, the timing of the news, dubious. The people that say the news, dubious. And your ability to trade and get out of these things through different, kind of exchanges, incredibly dubious. So everything's really stacked against you. So unless you bought Bitcoin, and I'm sorry, physical Bitcoin, and you held it, you might still be a hodl, might still be invested in the dream and that kind of stuff. But that's fine. But any other way you invested in it, it's absolutely, kind of 99.9% certainty that you're going to take much more pain than you would do in any other kind of more recognized market. So I mean, you've all got the chat window there, guys. Have we got any hodl there that are going to tell me wrong? Have we got any other people there that have made money from Bitcoin and are holding and still seeing it going to go up? I mean, you can always tell me your opinion. I'm just been honest and told you the way I see it. Now, I was right on the meltdown. I was right on the timing, and I'm not saying that Bitcoin's finished because it's over when the government and the 0.1% of the people control it say it's over. Got to remember the people that are in Bitcoin, the Winklevoss, brothers, the guys that got supposedly screwed by Zuckerberg from Facebook, Peter Thiel, again, one of the co-founders of PayPal. Who's the other? That's right, Elon Musk. Right? All these people know each other. All these techies stay together, and they're just seeing a way to create algorithms in the perfect environment to spread news through their own medium and be able to take the money from individual investors who might not know any different. So, from that respect, for me, it's a Ponzi scheme. From that respect, it's just a tax on people that are not sophisticated investors and people that are trading on margin and high leverage. You know, it doesn't take much of a move these days to get you stopped out of normal products. But Bitcoin, for example, can stop you out in a fraction of a second. And that's what's happened. So Bitcoin, where's it going to go? Absolutely. I would say, bring up the chart. For my basic, little chart here, we get back to the 50%. Yeah, we'll probably get back to $46,000. From there, who knows? Maybe we're going to make a new high. Then we see another meltdown. I mean, it doesn't really matter, if you're a Bitcoin fanatic and you want to hold it, it's all up from here. It's all, new highs. It's all back to what was McAfee say, 250,000. Everything's possible in this world. Absolutely everything is possible. What I'm saying is, how do you get there? Because if you've not bought here, then you're already opening yourself up to a quick new low, stop grabber, all the things we've talked about for 10 years. Yeah, getting you out in the market doing exactly what it wants. The ability to day trade it unless we've got ridiculous risk and ridiculous deep pockets, I would say is almost impossible. Because as I say, all the traditional things like the Fibonacci's might work for a bit. Bollinger Bands, your RSIs, your stochastics, your kind of lagging indicators might work for a bit. But then something comes out, overnight from, some other news source, or someone wants to liquidate their position. It's kind of when you're trading something that has no boundary or has no constraints to the way we've been taught to trade, you can't trade it as the way we trade every other product, because for all the things I've mentioned previously, all those things don't exist. Bitcoin exists in its own little universe that it's created with its own little god and its own little memes. And people think that that's fine. It's got a meme, it's friendly, it's fun, it's disestablishment. So, we're getting one over on the big guys. But it's just like GameStop, right? You think, where did these Reddit groups start? Who was the person that, kind of started it? You got to think that all these things are controlled by the people that have the money. So yeah, all the GameStop, like, we're going to hold it for infinity because it's going to go this way because we've got the power of the people. Well, yeah. So what do they do? The hedge funds liquidate, get out, they buy it, and they go with you. And then as soon as you think you're high enough and it's going to go to the moon, they crash it back down. You're not going to be able to beat, all the retail traders in the world. Not going to be able to beat the biggest banks. The banks, after the global financial crisis, were basically given free reign. They can never fail, ever again, ever. That was the deal. So they're always going to have more money. They're always going to have more scope to do things. And when they are losing, then they can lean on people like Robin Hood and say, listen, you've got to give us a day to sort this out. Lean on the little guy, because little guys spend 10 years in court, never get anything. The big guys, we don't want to do that. We don't want to lose our money. We've lost some, we need to make it back. Oh, we're back in the game. We've got a slight edge. And the slightest edge when you're talking people with billions and hundreds of billions of dollars compared to the average guy with an account, there's no comparison. You don't have the teams of lawyers. You don't have the gravitas. You don't have the pull. And again, all the people that are running these things are all the people that have the money invested in these things. When do you think the Nasdaq's dropping? When it's gone down 300 points, and we're all worried that Zuckerberg and Elon, all these other people have lost X amount of billion that day. Do you think they have? No, of course they haven't. They all have family offices. They all have teams of people, whole structures around them to make sure they can't lose money. These are the industry, the things that I've done behind the scenes, working for billionaires and where you get yourself a situation you have so much money you can't lose because you spread, you hedge, you don't have all your eggs in one basket. But the problem with the retail trader with Bitcoin is they got that bit of extra cash and they got that bit of money. They put it all in that one basket. And when that basket goes, it just goes back to the top to the rich guy. So anyone can argue that Bitcoin is the next big thing. It's the way, it's the future. I disagree. Okay, Bitcoin will not be the digital currency of the future. I don't even class it as a currency. It's a commodity. It's an asset. It's something that people want to see have capital gains and grow and have intrinsic value. But it has none. Doesn't pay you a dividend. Again, it doesn't have any real worth outside of what it is. And that's why, again, I always expected Bitcoin to crash. I always expected it to correct. And again, it was right. And it was a catalyst of Elon Musk and China, which I've always said are the two biggest threats. Well, Elon's not the biggest threat in the world, but I guess he's the biggest threat to ideology. And China is probably the biggest threat to everything because it's China. But now Trump's gone. I think the world's going to settle down a little bit, and it's just really, kind of all the central banks are hurting, a lot of debt because of COVID. So, everyone's going to get out back making money. So, if Bitcoin is the next big thing, you can pump a few $1 trillion as a central bank. We'll do it. If we're in a true global, kind of crisis and the world was going to end, why is gold not at $3,000? Because central banks have to sell their gold to keep the lights on and keep paying for stuff. Yeah. So why is gold done up there? Yeah. Why are stocks at record highs? Well, because the stocks have, been boosted by never-ending, quantitative easing and, kind of support from the central banks to keep them going up, because that's keeping all the sentiment, keeping everyone happy. But mark my words, yeah, the stock market will crash. At some time in the next 2 or 3 years, it will crash because stock markets are engineered to crash. They're all just bubbles created by the institutions, by the 1%, and by the government. And when you talk about people like Donald Trump, who are the 0.1% in charge, yeah, there we go. You start to see the picture. It's all controlled by the same people. Now, you think Elon's a master of manipulating the markets and making money? What do you think Donald Trump's made? Okay, he's a moron. We all know that. But why did he hire basically the staff of Goldman Sachs? To be part of his kind of team and treasury. There'll be a film about this. Mark my words. Donald Trump, the man who made $1 trillion, and it's all hid away somewhere. Why do you think he was so keen to meet Putin? When he first got elected, that's the first thing. When can I meet Putin? Well, Putin, as we know, or maybe you don't know, is one of the richest people on earth. He spent the last 20 years, taking all the money from Russian people. And I know more than you know. Trust me on this. I can't say anything else because I value my life. But, Donald Trump copied that model. He's all over the world, all of these kind of, kind of different funds and trusts and all these kind of like, hid away offshore, kind of regions that we all know about, that I've lived in for many years. And he will one day be exposed as probably the guy that made the most money, for the biggest fraud that ever was outside Elon. Because when Elon's saying that, Bitcoin has cost Tesla this much money and this much money, it's never the full picture. There is always streams upon streams and streams of all multi-layered kind of things that can never be kind of, really exposed without, again, putting so much effort behind it that it just takes too long to get caught. You're already out. And that's why Trump's never worried about lawsuits, because he's an old man. You're never going to see Trump in jail. That was, because you're not. He's going to see it out until he's just dead. And he's got to live his life screwing the world, the general public, and doing whatever he wants for his own game. And that's what Elon Musk is out to do. He doesn't really, I believe, think that his cars are the future. It's nothing really to do about Tesla design or the batteries. Batteries a little bit. It's more about self-driving. That's what he wants. He wants the world to be self-driving because that's, again, control over the world. That's why Uber's stayed strong, even after making lots of losses, because that's the technology of self-driving. So all these things you have to think are wheels within wheels. When you're trading the euro dollar, I mean, you think about all the kind of fundamentals, technicals, all the things I know about, it kind of makes sense because that's the world working. When you trade things like Bitcoin, it's not the world working at all. It has no relevance to anybody except the people that are trading Bitcoin. And you can see that because when we had the meltdown and all the retail accounts got wiped out, you don't see people going for the gold stash, people selling the house. You don't see people liquidating the stocks. So that shows you it's a low class of investor that have been pulled and sucked into this, and they've just had all their money taken from them. So all the institutions, fine. All the rich guys, fine. All the rich guys probably on the other side of it because they're in the club. So that's how you have to look about these things. So if you want to trade and make money, you can only do it in things that are still, not decentralized, that are very much centralized, that are part of everyday trading, part of institutions, pension funds, central bank plans, people's portfolios, because nothing can just melt anymore because it causes too much pain. And that's what the government's approved. They'll prop up anything. Everything's too big to fail in the real world. Bitcoin, not fussed. Too big to fail, don't care. Bitcoin goes up, got to tax it. Bitcoin goes down, not going to bail you out. So Bitcoin is the absolute wild west of trading. And that's my point. So if you want to make lots of money and you're right and you have deep pockets, great, you can make a lot of money. If you don't have deep pockets and you're not right, you'll lose all your money. So that's the trade-off. So me being right on Bitcoin was a simple Fibonacci. It took me 2 seconds to draw. And was it coincidental? I don't know. You can read my Twitter feed. I've been talking about these things for a long time. And I knew the crash was imminent after those comments because I said Bitcoin is much more traded fundamentally than technical. So it's all about the sentiment and the sentiment that the big players want to portray. They want to put the fear in the market and trade it down. And that's exactly what they did. And they bought their own Bitcoin back. What they're going to do with it, who knows? You could just as easily see higher highs and new highs as you could see it go down to $1,000. But if you want to take that risk and you're willing to do it, good luck to you. For me, I'd rather stick to products that I know and have traded for 20 years and made a lot of money from. All right, guys. Well, there we go. I thought I'd just pop on back to FX Street and do my 45 minutes. It's not a bragging exercise to say I was right, you were wrong or anything, because as I say, didn't make any money from it. I don't trade things that I don't fully understand. As in fully understand things that I'm willing to trade huge size on and risk my personal fortune, which I've just explained to you what would happen if I trade it. But I'm still doing okay, still making plenty of money, so life's still pretty good. It is an interesting way to engage people, and again, a very topical thing which the world will like to listen to, it seems. But for me, if you want to make money in the market, it's all about trading the currencies and indices, sticking to the things you understand or things you think you understand, and applying some sort of reasonable risk work and framework around it. And that's the way it is. There we go, guys. Well, that's me done. I don't want to sit here and say the same thing over and over again. I've always opened my funds. You can still trade through me. If you want my mentoring, you can still do that. Not a difficult man to find. Just Google Steve Ruffley. Well, hope you enjoyed, guys, and I'll speak to you all soon. Cheers then. Bye.